Hello and welcome viewers and subscribers of AVG News. Olisi, the son of Nube, is my name, and I hope I find you well. The channel is still AVG News. We still haven't shifted. We're not gonna shift. Um, you will know, especially if you're from Zim, that there have been some fresh developments, especially when it comes to politics, opposition politics for that matter. You have seen the drama that has been unfolding during the past few weeks. First and foremost, there was some movement within CCC, that is the mainstream opposition, Citizens Coalition for Change, which until recently was being led by Advocate Nelson Chamisa. So the latest, as you know, about 2 weeks ago, Advocate Chamisa damned CCC, citing that the party had ceased to become what it used to be. You know that there's been drama around that party for the past few months since the advent of a man called Sengezo Chabangu, who claimed to be the Secretary General of that particular party, which had won all the opposition votes in the 24 August 2023 elections. So what happened is that Sengezo came, he recalled several CCC MPs and councillors. After that, he went to court again to try and divert party funds into some account, a Standard Bank account that he had opened with some of the people that are fighting on his corner. So, sensing that there was nothing more to fight for, Advocate Nelson Chamisa then announced a few weeks ago that he was stepping down as president of CCC. You will also remember that Advocate Chamisa had previously said that Chabangu is not what he claims to be. After the recalls, some members of CCC who had been recalled tried to stand again in the subsequent by-elections using the name of the party. You know, there is McDonald Mabuto, there is Gift Ostalo Sisiba, there is Prince Tubego Sibanda of Pinga. They all tried to stand using the CCC name, but they were barred again by the court. Resultantly, they couldn't stand, and CCC filtered some people that Chabangu signed for, who some of them failed to win anything, but others did win. In some of the areas, Chabangu failed to field anybody. For example, in Harare, he failed to field a candidate where he had recalled a CCC candidate, and resultantly, that is Mafuku Tafara. Scott Sagupwanya of ZANU PF ended up winning. ZANU PF won seats again in Bulawayo for the very first time in a very long time. And people are accusing Chabangu of working with ZANU PF to ensure that ZANU PF won something after they failed to score a two-thirds majority, which we suspect they want to use to change the constitution and give the incumbent, that is President Emmerson Mnangagwa, a third term in office. So what happened is that after his candidates were barred, Chamisa then said that his supporters should not vote in the subsequent by-elections. So he then resigned, as I've already stated. Now, people are wondering what is going to happen, but I think you've already seen Advocate Chamisa on a crusade. He started in Harare, and we are told that on Sunday he will be in Bulawayo to launch what he calls a movement, but many people are saying this is a new political party, and this is what we are saying as well, that he seems to be well on course to launch a new political party. The grapevine says it's called the Democratic Alternative Zimbabwe. Others says the Democratic Alliance Zimbabwe. We don't know as of now what exactly is going to call it, but he's on a crusade to launch a new party which wears dark blue or blue. So we keep our eyes ready to see whatever is going to happen, our ears ready on the ground to hear what is going to happen. But also in the CCC that he left, there seems to be further splits. You know that the Sengezo Chabangu led splinter, which is mainly based in Matepeleland, but also has people like Tendai Biti. We are told that they are part of that. People like Welshman Nube, the professor, they are said to be part of that, although they haven't officially come out in the open to say that we are with Sengezo Chabangu. But we heard Biti saying in one of the videos that were flighted, in which he was being interviewed, stating that he's still the CCC vice president. That is despite the fact that Advocate Chamisa had said that only he and those that he appointed publicly, the likes of, first of all, Fatsai Mahere, who was the original spokesperson of the CCC, and then she was recalled, we don't know for what reason, and replaced by Promise Mukwanazi, and we also know of Gift Ostalo Siziba, who was also appointed the deputy spokesperson of the party. Other than this, we didn't hear anybody during Chamisa's reign as president of CCC, other than Sengezo Chabangu, saying that they have a position. But after Chamisa jumped ship, we saw Tendai Biti coming out of the closet to claim that he is still the deputy president of CCC. Then the Sengezo Chabangu led structure of splinter group went and set what they called a standing committee meeting, in which they appointed certain people to certain positions. Then they also stated that the party was reverting back to the 2019 Congress positions, which means that Tendai Biti could have then gotten the leeway to say that he is still vice president of the party. And that means that Professor Welshman Nube is vice president of the party, and the others that were part of the original MDC alliance structure, which was, of course, dissected and ruptured by the High Court order, which gave the party to Advocate Douglas Monzora. You know that Monzora is still leading a structure that he calls MDC Alliance. These guys are saying that they are reverting to that, which after they lost the party to Monzora, mutated to CCC. So now it's a very strong web and a ball of confusion, because if you say that you are reverting to the 2019 structures, where does this leave Douglas Monzora? Because the 2019 structure was eventually splintered into what became CCC and the Douglas Monzora MDC alliance, unless if they say that the structure that remained after Monzora left is the one that they are reverting back to, because you will remember that in 2019 Monzora at some point was the Secretary General, although he left after that, and there was a new guy who took over, who right now is, we are told, following Advocate Nelson Chamisa, which means that Chabangu is no longer the Secretary General as he claimed to be earlier on. So we are yet to see what is going to benefit from the subsequent splitting of the CCC into a number of splinters. Then the other remaining splinter is the one that pays allegiance to Nelson Chamisa and is being led by the Chamisa appointed party spokesperson. So the other Secretary General was Charlton Wende. And now we don't know where he stands, but we believe that he's with Nelson Chamisa, although we also hear that there is some form of bad blood between the two. So the Promise Kwanazi led structure now, you remember that Promise was the national spokesperson of CCC appointed by Advocate Nelson Chamisa. He still claims that he's loyal to Nelson Chamisa and wants to get him back to CCC and heading it. But we know for certain that Chamisa has moved on from CCC and is fronting a new movement which wears blue and whose name is yet to be given out, but the acronym is said to be DAZ. So Promise woke up one day, published on the micro-blogging site X, that he is now the acting president of the new party, or I mean of CCC, that is the splinter that is said to be loyal to Nelson Chamisa, and he claimed that they were still talking to Nelson Chamisa to try and get him back to lead the party. He says that Chamisa is his mentor and leader. But he woke up the other day and addressed a press conference where he said he was now appointing, he said the National Standing Committee, or whatever I called it, has appointed Jameson Timber to be the acting president of the party. We are yet to hear what Timber says about that, but that is what Promise Kwanazi said in his press conference, that Jameson Timber is the now interim president of CCC. It's only Promise word that we've heard. We haven't yet heard what Timber's response is, because for what we know him to be, he is a Chamisa loyalist. Is he going to follow Advocate Chamisa, or is going to hold fort in this structure in which he was appointed into a position by Promise Mkonazi and the so-called National Standing Committee, whatever he called it? Then there is also another layer onto the CCC troubles with, you all know, Advocate Job Sikhala having been released from prison after about close to 2 years in incarceration. We saw him addressing a press conference again, saying that he was leaving CCC. He wished them well. And he's saying that there is a crusade again. You remember that I came here online to state that Job Sikhala is seemingly launching a new political party from prison, which has people like Moken Komichi spearheading it. And many of you who are still loyal to Nelson Chamisa insulted me. They said that there is no way that Job Sikhala can launch his own party. But now he also calls it a movement. And he's on a crusade. He says he's going to send people all over, and this is a citizens movement. Exactly what we heard from Nelson Chamisa when he launched CCC a few years ago, that is about 2 years ago or a year ago. Now we seem to be having a number of new political parties hitting us left, right, and center. We know that Chamisa has a number of followers, but we also know that there are a number of people who are aggrieved with the way he has been centralizing power, especially on himself. He says he has learned a number of things, but what we gather is that what he has learned is that he cannot trust some people around him. What he has learned, what he claims to have learned, and that is that there are some people that he believes backbeat him, although within CCC, again, those that are fighting him from the Sengezo Chabangu part, they believe that he's the one who sought out on the democratic revolution by centralizing power on himself, by discarding some people who have sacrificed so much, the people, the likes of Welshman Nube, the likes of Tendai Biti, the likes of several other people. So it's now a back and forth with each of them not seeming to have learned anything from this fallout and this internal implosion. Each of them is blaming the other. Chamisa is blaming mainly ZANU-PF, and he believes, as he has always done, that those that ended up being aggrieved with his actions are actually working for ZANU-PF. This is a long-standing accusation by CCC people, let me say by MDC mutations since 2000 or 2005. Everyone who disagreed with the leader is said to be working with ZANU-PF without tangible evidence, because what is happening is that all these guys have always, from Morgan Tsvangirai, they've always been power hungry. You remember that Tsvangirai broke the party's constitution. He breached it when he lost a vote around whether or not the party should participate in the senatorial elections. And when he lost, he split the party with those who remained loyal to the constitution, pulling away with the likes of, or rather kicking Tsvangirai out with his loyalists. We included Nelson Chamisa, we included Tendai Biti and the others. And then they were parceled to ZANU-PF. He called Tendai Biti, he called, in fact, Welshman Nube, Gibson Sibanda, and the others, ZANU-PF stooges. Although we knew that The bone of contention was that Tsvangirai had acted ultra-vires the party's constitution. He acted willy-nilly. But because of the cultist following that we have had in our opposition since 2000, the rest of the people followed Morgan Tsvangirai. After the 2013 elections, the party split again with Tendai Biti, subsequently forming the PTP, People's Democratic Party, based on the internal fights within the party again. And BT et al. Were said to be working for ZANU-PF afterwards by Morgan Tsvangirai and his other people or his loyalists. But we saw that later on when the MDC alliance idea came about where they wanted to unite the opposition, they then backed down to say these are democratic people, these are pro-democracy fighters, they welcomed them back. So it seems that you become ZANU-PF if you disagree with the populist leader, with the cult leader. Only then will you be called ZANU-PF. And if you come back, tail between your legs, you are welcome back and you are no longer a ZANU-PF person. We saw that again when Tsvangirai died and Nelson Chamisa fought Thokozani Kupe, who was the democratically elected vice president of the party, over who should take over the position. Kupe was labeled a sellout, she was labeled a wure, that is prostitute, and accused of working with ZANU-PF. After that, when they quoted her back, she was cleansed through word of mouth of the ZANU-PF tag, and she was welcomed. She was welcomed back as a pro-democracy fighter. We are back again. The likes of Tendai Biti, the likes of Job Sikhala, the likes of Welshman Nube, who have seemingly cut ties with Nelson Chamisa and Sengezo Chabang, of course, are now being called ZANU-PF stooges. What lessons do we learn from this? What the biggest lesson that we can learn is that the tag that is being placed on everyone who is fighting the so-called monolithic leader of the opposition, the so-called cultist leader of the opposition, can only be called that because they have differences with the cult leader. There is absolutely nothing to back those claims. We have seen also on Twitter where Promise Kwanazi is being called by Hopewell Chinono of being a CIO stooge within the opposition, and the claims are that Chamisa is now leaving CCC because of him. Yet Chamisa is the one who appointed Promise. Why would he appoint someone without due diligence? If he could appoint Promise, and it turns out Promise is being held by the CIO or reports to the CIO, who else is Chamisa appointing? Who else is Chamisa trusting? Who is also working with the system? What does this say of Chamisa himself? If he can appoint someone without due diligence, and if he can appoint someone who's being held by the CIO, who is Chamisa working with? Who is Chamisa working for that matter? Because he recalled someone, that is Advocate Fatsa Mahere, all of a sudden placed Promise Mkwanazi on top of her. So now, what does this say about Chamisa himself? Who handles him? Who is giving him these orders? Who does he consult before he appoints anybody? So this leaves a very big question. Is it true that Promise is being held by the CIO, is reporting to the CIO, is being handled by the CIO? If it's true, who else within CCC, who else within Chamisa circles is being handled by the CIO? Is Chamisa himself clean? Is he not being handled by the CIO? If it's a lie, then what does this say again about those who are supporting Nelson Chamisa? So this is a number of, these are few of a number of questions that arise. If it's not true, then why is Promise being targeted? These are all questions that are begging for answers. Then, of course, Zimbabwean politics, Whither Zimbabwean opposition politics, because what we know right now is that ZANU-PF is cruising towards two-thirds majority. I believe they've already attained it. What are they going to do next? They now have the powers to change the constitution. Is Mnangagwa going to run for the two-thirds? Is ZANU-PF going to allow him that? Are they not harboring their own agendas after Mnangagwa's reign? Will they allow him to toy around with them? This also is another interesting factor that we're going to consider. But how many other parties are going to be formed? Who is backing Job Sikhala to form another party? We've already seen people claiming that Job Sikhala, when he was in jail, he wasn't in jail. He was being initiated so that he would come and compete with Nelson Chamisa. And this is all total rubbish, because we know Job Sikhala. We have seen him a number of times being arrested. He is one of the people that have come out to clearly and publicly fight against ZANU-PF corruption, to fight against opposition opposition personification by certain leaders who have pretended that they're bigger than the party. We saw when the MDC split in 2005, he went with the likes of Welshman Nube and Gideon Spanda. After some differences, he formed the MDC in 99, because he's one person who stands his ground. He's one person who doesn't allow himself to be toyed around with. So now he's forming his own movement. He's being accused because people want everyone to follow Nelson Chamisa, as if Nelson Chamisa is a God-ordained leader. We don't have a problem with him leading political parties, but we've got serious problems with him or his supporters beginning to label those that don't agree with him this or that. It is a democratic country. It is a multi-democracy, and everyone who wants to form a political party must be allowed to follow their dreams. Nobody is forced to follow this or that particular leader. And this issue of people being accused of splitting votes, why is Chamisa allowed to form as many parties as he wants? Why isn't he not joining the existing parties? If this thing about splitting votes lives, why is he the only one who's allowed to split votes? Because what we know is not everyone agrees with him. And those who don't agree with him must be allowed to form their own political parties without having to be forced to follow him. It's only the numbers that will tell when we go to the elections. And if people love him, let them vote him. Let us not accuse him of being a ZANU-PF stooge, but he also mustn't accuse other people of being ZANU-PF stooges. And his supporters must not be intolerant if they believe that what they are following is the right thing. So this is what we had today. We'll come back, but we have turned this into a weekly briefing. Every Friday we'll be coming live here. For those who want to engage us, or if you want us to interview you, please feel free to WhatsApp us on +27 73 962 3075, +27 73 962 3075. You can also use the comment section underneath this video to air your views. You can insult us if you will, as you always do. We appreciate that. We don't block anybody. We engage with people. Please raise your views. If you have problems with us or with certain things that we say, feel free, because this is your channel. This is a channel that is meant to engage with everyone from all over the African continent. It's not exclusively for Zimbabweans. There's a number of things happening in South Africa. There are going to be elections. We're going to be bringing those. We're going to be bringing also candidates interviews. If you want us to interview you, use that number. If you are running for the South African elections, whether you're a candidate or you lead a certain party that is going to contest, just WhatsApp us on +27 73 962 3075. If you have any other story that you want us to cover, a story of interest, also use that particular number as well, and we'll get back to you. We'll give you the platform. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it. Have a wonderful weekend.